Hey, Karen, a regular attendee.
All right, oops, we've got some more people coming in. Welcome, everyone. And I think I'm just going to make a friendly reminder for everybody who is not serving on the board of directors to have their microphones on mute until we get to the open forum section. And John, whenever you're ready to call the meeting to order, I'll bring up the. Okay.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Betsy, before you share your screen,
Yes.
I just want to say a couple of things. I'm sorry that we have to do this on Zoom again. I just checked the county health department website to see whether they had modified the requirement for public meetings to be held virtually, and they have not modified it. So that's still effective. The last I heard, the county health officer thought maybe by the middle of February she might change that, but I guess we'll have to wait. I want to remind everyone that there are 3 opportunities during these meetings for everyone to speak. We have 2 homeowner forums, and then you have an opportunity to speak on agenda items if you'd like. But we're going to limit your speaking time to no more than 3 minutes. And please be concise and courteous. Our agenda is not terribly long, but there are a couple of items that may take some time to discuss. So I'd like everyone to be as concise as possible. The board is really hoping to get through this in an hour and a half. And let's see if we can do it. Last time we went quite late and we started having people drop off, and that was unfortunate. So we'll try to be as judicious with our time as possible. So, Betsy, you want me to talk about the executive session, or do you want to talk about it?
Well, it was a pretty brief session. You reviewed the delinquency report. You did talk about communication protocols with committees, and you approved the minutes from the previous executive session.
Yeah, it was pretty brief. Yeah. So let's move on to committee updates. I'd like to hear from the chairs as we've listed here in this order, but again, please be brief if you can. Is there someone here from the Campus Commons Playground Ad Hoc Committee? Hearing none. Let's see, who is next? Architecture Review Committee. Do we have someone from architecture? Hearing none. How about Finance Committee? It's someone from Finance Committee. Wow, we're striking out here. All right. How about the Grounds Committee? Do we have someone from Grounds?
Wow.
Wow,
Well, they must be mad at us or something. How about Insurance, Legal, and Safety Committee?
I saw Nancy.
Nancy, do you
Yeah,
see
I'm
your...
here. I muted myself. Can you hear me now?
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Report, Nancy?
Wanted to say, I'm sorry, go on.
Have a report?
Yeah, I have a short report. Just wanted to say that Peter Pilkoffer has been working really, really hard on this lighting situation, and I think you know about the different lights that he's put in the lollipop light, that one at the end of Commons, and then one over on the that green belt over off of Commons. I'm sorry, I would like to have him be able to demonstrate to the board, and I think only 1 or 2 of you, John, you were there, you saw it, what
Yes.
he's done. He's put a lot of work and effort into this. So that's been our main, our last meeting, that was our main focus in it, and it still is. So that's the main thing that we're working on. And then I hope to get into security companies soon too. So that's kind of where we are, but Peter has been working very, very hard on this.
Okay, thank you, Peter, for your efforts. I see there's one of those in front of my front door.
John,
I didn't see you do it, but someone told me.
I told. Sorry,
it wasn't me.
I told.
I see Susan Timmer has arrived. We'll jump back to Finance Committee. Susan, do you have a brief report?
I can give a brief report. We had Mike McDermott and Billy Williams attending the Finance Committee meeting this past month and talked about the pros and cons of the conversion on the siding from using T111 plywood to new materials that are more resistant to dry rot. And got a lot of good material, a lot of which is detailed in the report, so I won't go over that again. But the long and the short of it is that after this discussion and finding out that there's no cost difference between changing over to the more dry rot resistant siding, that we made a motion to recommend that the board pursue the possibility of using these different materials when replacing the siding in trim. We also had an amendment to our minutes. Billy Williams put together, we talked, I should just back up for 1 second. We talked about the value of the community seeing the difference between the different products. And there is one home at 1503 University,
Mhm.
if
Yeah.
I'm,
Yep.
that has several different kinds of siding on it right now. And some brilliant person in the committee suggested that we take one of those pieces of siding off and put it, the new proposed material on there so everybody could see it and take a look at the differences. And so Mr. Williams put together a quote for doing that, and basically he wouldn't charge us anything for putting up that new siding, looks like.
Right. He would remove the hardy panels that were put up in 2015, 2017, just for comparison purposes, and replace it with the DuraTemp siding.
And just for the sake of everybody on the call, this DuraTemp siding that Betsy just alluded to has a 50-year warranty on it, which would extend the life of our siding by quite a bit. And although we wouldn't make immediate gains because we wouldn't replace all the siding that we have on now with the new stuff, we would replace the plywood that's wearing out with the new material. And then over the next several years, we would kind of slowly but surely replace it. So it would be more, wouldn't change the cost right now, but down the road in a few years, and the projections out would really be a great savings to us.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Is that your report?
Yeah, that's my report. Thank you very much.
Okay, there is an agenda item later where we're doing some siding repair, and we're taking your recommendation to heart, Susan. You'll see when we come to that item, we're going to try it the DuraTemp right away.
Oh, wonderful. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
How about
Thank
the
you.
outreach committee? Emily, I know you're on outreach. Emily?
Yes, hello. Our January meeting basically involved brainstorming some potential outreach events for the year. We're kind of in this wait and see, kind of as you mentioned, with gathering and where we are at the moment. So we've kind of mapped out some things we'd like to see, but we're just going to kind of see how COVID continues to present itself. Everything is captured in the meeting minutes, but I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of Emily? Okay, thank you. Nice background, Emily.
Thank you. Our department created it. LHR.
Okay. All right, let's move on to agenda item 4, management reports. Betsy, you have the floor.
Thank you. I think everybody, the directors have had a chance to review the published report. I did want to give you an update that you did not have as of this report. Last night, I received the most current meter readings for the water meters. So this is the most recent usage reports, and it does capture everything back to when the meters went live in July. So these are and this list that you're looking at on screen, I hope it's showing on screen.
It is.
Okay, thank you. There's actually, 86 meters listed up here. This is just an excerpt with the totals at the bottom. So this is an opportunity to see what the bill would be like were we, receiving the bills now. Currently, all of the homeowners are still receiving their normal water bills from the city of Sacramento. And of course, it's based on, not on metered usage, but number of rooms in the home. So this is the actual metered water usage in Nepenthe for your homes and for all of our common area landscaping. And that is the black numbers here at the bottom. And these do not count the May and June because not all of the meters were live at that point. July is the first month that all the meters went live. And down here in the yellow, what I've done is added the 7 months worth of usage data over here to the right. That's $227,349 worth of bills, and for an average of $32,478 per month. Now, divided by 590 homes, that's an average of $55 per owner per month. This will help inform our budget when we recreate the budget. The big question is, when will these bills start coming to the association, and when will homeowners stop receiving bills from the city? And so that was a subject of conversation between the city and I today. I have requested that they not go live until January of 2023. She is taking that to the head of the Department of Utilities, and hopefully we get an affirmative answer. And if we don't get an affirmative answer, I hope we can maybe forward that up to the council member, because the budget, our fiscal year ends. And so we certainly don't want these bills to start coming to us in July and we haven't budgeted for a monthly water bill of $32,000. So I'll be putting an article about this in the newsletter Friday, but I wanted the board to be aware of where we're at with that.
Betsy, let me suggest that you provide this spreadsheet to all the directors.
I will.
I certainly would like to chew on this.
Yeah.
The last one we got wasn't very accurate.
Yes, and they've
and
corrected that.
And I'm hoping this one is better. And we all need to kind of wrap our arms around how this is going to work. So directors, if you wouldn't mind spending a little geek time looking at numbers, it would really be great, because we're going to have to work with Betsy and the city.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's great. I was going to ask you, Betsy, whether we heard anything. So
Yeah,
you
I've
just
been,
got this. Huh?
I've been nagging her for a while, and I told her, I said, I really want to give a report to the board. So she got this to me about 7 o'clock last night.
Okay, good. All right. Anything else, Betsy?
No, that's it.
Okay. It's time now for the first homeowners forum. I guess the best way is for people to let Betsy know on chat if you would like to say something. So Betsy, watch your chat.
I will.
Betsy.
It looks like, Peter, did you want to speak?
Yeah, please. Just for a moment, I want to let the board members know that I have removed the test lights that were in the Greenbelt area so that they can no longer view them there to determine what they look like. And apparently John and Mary both know that I have put a test light in front of each one of your homes, directors. It is right outside of your door, your front door. You probably don't use your front door any more than I do. So when you get an opportunity,
Uh-oh.
lollipop light to your front door, and then kind of look at the other lollipops around, I think that will give you an opportunity to compare the amount of illumination that's coming from them. If you have any question about the actual lollipop, you can contact me, but it is the closest lollipop light to your front door.
Thank you,
That's-
Peter.
You're
Um,
welcome.
Okay, Carol Duke would like to address the board.
Carol?
Thank you. Regarding your comments, Betsy, on the water, as I recall, they had told us in the beginning multiple times that we wouldn't receive billing until a year after we started receiving the correct amounts. So that would be
July.
January or February, because you didn't receive them until this morning, it sounds like.
Oh, no, it's after 1 year of collecting the data. And we did get our first report in the fall, which we did feature at a board meeting. But it did have incorrect information.
It wasn't correct, yes.
Right, but that makes a compelling argument. You're right, Carol. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a good argument, Carol. The first report we got was only about half right.
Mhm.
Some of the meters, the numbers were, well, they just weren't right. And they
Right.
admitted it. Yeah, okay.
Right.
Thank you, Carol.
And Ricardo Pineda would also like to address the board.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Sure.
Okay, good. I don't use this microphone and camera too often. So I've been here in Campus Commons since January 2021, so just a little over a year now. And I wanted to bring two items, at least for discussion. And one, I sent an email about a month ago and I didn't receive a response. And it was related to the consideration for putting the thermal cover on the spa. It seems, I'm a civil engineer, so I'm kind of a dirt and concrete and levee and dam guy, but basic understand basic thermodynamics, and we're losing a tremendous amount of heat, overnight when the spa closes at 10 and then opens in the morning. And I went online and I think you can purchase thermal covers that float on the surface at a pretty low cost. And that may be a salary, I don't say salary savings, that may be a cost savings. It seems kind of silly to lose so much heat overnight, especially in the winter. So that was one item I wanted to discuss. I don't know if you have any questions on that or if I should move on to the second one.
Ricardo, all I can see is the top of your head.
I didn't hear you.
That's all I can see is the top of your head.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay, is that? I don't know what's going on with this camera. Is that a little bit better?
Now I see your sweater.
But we can hear
It's
you.
blue.
Okay, you can hear me. I'll get that camera adjusted at some
Sure,
point.
go ahead. Yeah. Second item, Ricardo?
Oh, okay, number two.
Yes.
Okay, number two is I cycle a lot, and I've kind of noticed along Commons Drive, has there been any consideration to have bike lanes marked on Commons Drive? I mean, it's a city issue, but I think it could be an improvement to the aesthetics of Commons Drive and the community. It kind of narrows the view of the street, and it also could, I think safety could be improved for people who don't want to run on sidewalks. I used to be a runner, I don't run anymore, but I think safety could be improved if people are kind of running in a designated area. And also the cyclist, and I've been involved with industrial safety in my work as an engineer, and every little bit helps. So I'm not sure if there's been any thought in the past. I mean, the width of Commons Drive is not too different than the width of University before you get to American River Drive. And so I think that there's some potential there to improve the aesthetic of Commons Drive and also to improve safety. So,
Well, we can certainly query the city of Sacramento about that. I don't know what their standards are in terms of street widths and traffic, but we can certainly ask them. I too am a cyclist. I am appreciative of you bringing that up.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like I said, if it prevents one accident, somebody getting hurt, I've been involved with a couple cycling accidents. I think it would be very beneficial. And the streets where I do see bike lanes marked, I think they're just a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So I think it could be a win-win at no cost to the community. Because the city is trying to promote both the city and the county, more cyclists and alternative forms of transportation.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree. I think it would improve safety. I think it's a great suggestion.
Thank you, Ricardo. That's excellent. Good suggestion.
Thank you very much. Any
Is there-
comment about the pool cover? Has that been thought of before? Or the spa cover?
I can
Betsy?
speak, yeah, I can speak to that.
Yeah.
So we receive our pool license from the county of Sacramento, and there are not very many pool covers that are approved for a commercial pool, and the ones that are spa, and the ones that are fairly expensive. The ones that float on the surface are not approved because they can trap children underneath them. So they become sort of an attractive nuisance and they're dangerous. But so if it was in your backyard, that would be a different thing. You could control that. But for a pool like ours, the county just won't allow it. But we can certainly investigate other options if the board would like me to, and maybe that's something that they want to, talk about and decide at a later time if that's something they want to investigate.
Yeah, Betsy, why don't you just dig into that a little bit and see what you can kind of give us
Okay.
some range of magnitude.
Okay.
Okay.
Betsy,
All right.
would there be the Dunbarton pool too? Would it be
Well-
proposed? Because
Well, sure. I mean, if
Sure.
you're going to investigate for one, you might as well look at both.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm generally referring to the spa because it takes some effort to, I belong to another gym and the crew, the two people who work, it's a pretty big effort to cover a whole pool, but I'm just referring to the spa. So I haven't been to the Dunbarton one.
Dunbarton has a spa as well.
Has a spa, yeah.
So let's look into both of them.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Is there someone else who would like to speak?
Oh,
Okay, hearing none. The
Let's go back
next
to the
agenda
agenda.
item is the consent calendar. Unless any of the directors have comments on the consent calendar, I would like to move approval.
I second that.
Any objections? Betsy approved without objection.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Let's see, unfinished business proposal for landscape architect. At the last board meeting, it was suggested by Ashley that we retain the services of a landscape architect to look at our grounds these days and see how we are matching the vision document, as well as whether we might want to look at some different approaches to not only perhaps be more sustainable with water usage and maintenance, but maintain the beauty and integrity of our grounds. What we have before us here is a proposal to retain Mr. Garth Ruffner, who has worked with us before, and hire him for 24 hours of his time to walk the property and give us some suggestions and observations. And then he's a little reluctant to write a letter, so we would document his recommendations for him to document and agree with. A couple of our directors have some suggested additions and modifications of the scope of work. So what I would suggest we do is we approve the hiring of Mr. Ruffner, and then we will work with Betsy to modify his scope of work so we're getting exactly what we want.
Good. Is that a motion?
I have a motion to hire this guy.
I move we hire Garth Ruffner to prepare a plan for our future landscaping.
May I have a
Okay.
second?
I second.
Any objections from the directors? Okay, that's approved without objection, Betsy.
Great. All right. Next item is a turf rehabilitation proposal.
Okay. Betsy, can you brief us on this one?
Sure. This first came up in November. At that time, Linda was absent, so it was a 2-2 vote on this proposal for some turf renovation in a small area of Zone 5. And so it sounded to the grounds committee that maybe they needed to provide the directors with more information. And so they investigated what was being proposed against maybe what the homeowner, one of the homeowners that lives in that area, had researched and put forward as a possible idea. And so you can see here that Nick Schubert of Carson Landscape did attend the grounds committee meeting to talk about what was being proposed. It's a mixture of 90 to 95% dwarf tall fescue and a 5 to 10% mix of Kentucky bluegrass. And he did provide some information sheets. It is considered drought tolerant, generally requires less water to keep looking green and healthy. He did say that the turf that is in the community now in many areas would be classified as high water use turf because of the shallow rooting characteristics. And he did speak a little bit to the rhizomatous tall fescue, which was recommended by homeowner Don Alwanger, who now serves on the grounds committee. And what we learned is that it's a brand name for another dwarf tall fescue seed. So very similar to what they're already using, but it's a little bit more costly. So the grounds committee voted unanimously to recommend the proposal again to the board of directors for action. And it is, I can show you the proposal here and the information from Carson. So here's the proposal. It is for mowing the turf down. I'll make this a little bigger. I don't know if you guys are having a hard time seeing that, but I am. Mow the turf down to 1 inch in height and aerate, cut the sod edges as needed for proper grade, dethatch, rake and mow, fill in the low spots as budget permits, and apply starter fertilizer and check irrigation as budget permits and make adjustments. And so this is for $4,320 in the materials. The area in question is, as I said, fairly small area. And we do have some photos of the area along with.
Any comments from the directors on this? I know this was something that has come back to us. Mary, Ashley, I know you guys were concerned about drought tolerance. Any comments now?
This answers my concerns, and I would move that we move ahead with this.
Okay.
I second.
Mary,
I second.
okay, Linda, second. Any objections from the directors? Okay, approved without objection, Betsy.
Okay. And the next item of business is, I think we're tabling this. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's correct. We have an agenda item to refer possible new paint color options to the architecture committee. Mary, you might want to speak to this. We're apparently not ready to do that yet.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that at the next board meeting, we just want to make sure that the displays that are prepared for homeowners and the architectural review committee to see are accurate, and the current ones that have been prepared are not. So we're hoping the delay is only no more than a month.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next agenda item, possible rental restrictions. Marcus, this was an item that you wanted on the agenda. Could you kind of brief us on this?
So this idea came up just looking at the other villages that we have in Campus Commons. Some of them, they do have rental restrictions. And we got this new law that just came out from the government. And I thought, with the water consumption that we have, and we're gonna have to pay for our water consumption, plus some parking issues that we have in certain areas, more cars per household than average. I thought that might be a good idea to look into possible putting a rental restriction in place.
So
Yeah, valid points. I guess the way I read this, and this is probably in response to the legislature realizing that we have a housing problem in California. We currently, as Nepenthe, do not have a restriction on how many rental units we can have. State law requires you to not go below 25%. And you could go higher if you had one. We don't even have one. And if we had one, and if we're below 25%, we'd have to immediately amend it. So we're not faced with that. Betsy, you're telling me that our current rental occupancy has been about 14 to 16%?
yes, consistently. I can go back and look at management reports going back to 2012, where it was reported every month, and it was still in that range between 14 to 16%. So
I'm curious, do the other directors have comments, opinions
Well,
on
so-
this?
I remember when this bill was, when we were preparing for this bill to pass, and it did pass for the ADUs and to actually encourage more affordable housing or more housing variety. And there was some brief discussion about a cap for our rentals. In my particular alley, there are 12 homes, and we have 4 of them that are rentals. So that's a pretty high percentage. And I think that it might be wise of us to consider this and do some more, information gathering, maybe talk about this a little bit more. It appears that we have until next January 1st, am I correct, to make this change if we do make a change?
No, that's not true.
Not true.
Okay.
The July 1st deadline
Yes.
relates to
okay.
if we had a lower restriction. So we can take as much time as we want.
Okay, I think it would be something that we could consider and maybe even ask our residents to weigh in on this. Because, and I'm not talking a huge, change, but even if we could set up a 25% maximum. And I'm wondering too, Betsy, if the information that we have actually is honest and accurate, that there are only 14 to 16% rentals, because there's a lot of rental property.
Remember, Betsy, we did a check on one house at one point, and we did not know that the homeowner did not live there. That was one of the homes that we just happened to find out. Plus, we also have these 2 homes, as I understand, that cause problems. The people that have apparently somebody living, as I understand, in the garage.
yeah, anytime that you have homes that are investment properties and are rentals, you will see an uptick in generally parking issues and that kind of thing. My couple of cautions would be, if you do decide to pursue this, it will have to be written up, by the attorney and then distributed to the membership for a vote. And for any CC&R change, it does require a 50% plus 1 affirmative vote to then pass. And my worry is that the legislature giveth and the legislature taketh away. So right now they're saying you can have a rental restriction of 25% or more. what's to say that next year they decide, oh, we need more affordable housing, and now HOAs cannot restrict rentals, you know, to the tune of 30% or 40%. So I think in this particular instance, it looks like this is something that the state wants to have the final say on. And I don't know if trying to buck that is worth the time and expense.
No, you may,
Oh, go ahead.
Any other directors?
Well,
I have a
Will.
Yeah.
comment.
Go ahead, Mary.
Ashley, were you ahead of me? Did you have a comment?
Well, I guess maybe I was just I still am a little confused. Is the purpose of this is our last chance to have a restriction? I can't remember, maybe Marcus will know this, but when I was doing real estate, I think that they're like, if some of these HOAs had more than 25%, then it creates all these problems getting an
So,
FHA
yes, I
loan.
mean, yeah, and that, you know, that's a good point. I'm dealing with an HOA right now that has 41 units and over 50% happen to be rentals. And that caught those people really by surprise. Somebody swooped up a whole bunch of them at once and took control basically of that community.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not going to happen here with 590 homes.
Yeah.
I sure don't think so. But, you know, I just want to caution people and want to make people aware of it, that it could affect our facilities. It could affect our lifestyle. It could affect, you know, our home prices and so on and so forth. And again, I think the average home is occupied here in Nepenthe 1 to 2 people, maybe 3 people. And the rentals are certainly, they have more people in it. So they use more water, they have more cars and so on. So I just want to bring this basically to our residents' attention to be aware of everything.
But can this potentially backfire for us in the sense of, oh, you're over 25%? What is the restriction? I think it's for FHA, and then people, or maybe it's some
No,
other loan
it won't have
program.
it won't have an impact since these are PUDs. It does not have an impact
Right.
for financing your home.
Okay, yeah, I was just thinking of maybe it's Wood
Condominiums.
Lake that has, I think there's like a lawsuit on it, and people had to be cash buyers. Seems like I've run into something and I just couldn't really remember. So basically, is it safe to say this is kind of our last chance to implement a rental
No.
restriction?
No.
Oh, no, okay.
Not at all.
All right.
I see Will has his hand raised.
I do too. Can I just say, I think that based on the history of Nepenthe, that we're not even close to 25%, even if we're off by a few houses. And as long as we are tracking it and staying on top of it, I think that's the right approach.
Yeah, I tend to agree. If that were to change, we might want to look at this more closely.
Yeah, it could hurt our values, you know, if, let's see, I think one of the reasons why people buy over here is that we don't have that 1 year minimum. And if we get close to that 25%, you know, sometimes people have a 1031 exchange and they just want to buy something. And I don't know, I have mixed feelings about it. But I think there are some really good points being made here. You know, both Betsy with us having to go get a vote, and then also the more of the water usage, because the renters that I have by me have quite a few more people coming and going.
However, the majority of water use is landscaping. It's not home use
Oh,
by a
Right.
huge amount.
I don't know. I hear a lot of showers. Maybe
It
if
still
it's
is
in the
nowhere near
house.
land.
All right. Will and Carol have their hands raised. Will?
Yeah, having been through a couple of CCNR changes when I was on the board, I would say, although I think this is probably actually a prudent suggestion, it requires a CCNR change. And if I were going to do it, I would review, I'd sit down and review CCNRs and see if there's anything else that needs to be done, because a CCNR change is expensive, it's time consuming, and it's the chances of passing on the first go round are are not that great unless you get out and knock on doors and talk to people and win them over, because they simply don't vote. And you have to have 50% of the people voting in the affirmative, and they, 40% don't bother to vote at all. So if if the board's going to consider it seriously, I would consider it along with a general review of CCNRs and, any cleanup that needs to be done. You don't want to have to do it twice or 3 times.
Yeah, good point.
To
Carol
his-
Duke, Carol, you have a comment?
Yeah, thanks, John. So this is interesting to me too, and there are pros and cons on both sides. I'm aware of 2 rentals that have just 1 person in each. And I'm aware of 2 rentals that have just 2 people in each. So I know I would be concerned if there were rentals with lots of young people, college students or whatever in them, multiple. That would be a concern for noise and parking and such. But I'm not sure if it's a good idea to move forward until we really understand the breadth of what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
I move that we table this to make sure that I think Will's point is really good as far as doing these CCNR changes at once, and maybe that we need to review and see if there's anything else. I mean, it's brought up.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it really. I just don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ashley. We weren't asked to take action tonight.
Okay.
But I do think we should table this, but I do think we need to keep it in the back of our minds if things change.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay,
Yeah, and I can always provide that rental percentage in my management report each month, and maybe if we see a trend changing.
You know what? That would be helpful, Betsy.
Yeah.
yeah,
Thanks, Betsy.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Neat
thank you,
idea.
Betsy. Good thinking. And we'll just be aware of this as time moves on. Okay. All right, let's see. Next item, request for signage from an owner.
Yes. And I don't know if Bill White is here tonight. I don't think that he is, but.
I don't
his
think he
letter
is. He's usually
form.
here.
Yeah. But here is his request. Would like private property signs installed on the fire access points off of University. I did include a map, I think, showing those locations. Oh, yeah, okay, I did try, but then once it saved, my little arrows went away, so.
Oh, I was wondering. I was like,
know.
is it all those dots or?
No,
is it-
I had little red arrows. So if you can see my cursor, or I'm gonna highlight, like there's one, right? And it's right over here near the tennis courts on, that are, look like they're on University, but they're on Elmhurst. So one right over here. There's another one down here by where Bill lives, near 708 Elmhurst, right off of University. And then this one, from the map, you can't tell, but there is a fire truck access point right over here near the underpass near Dunbarton. And
That's the one I use.
okay. Yeah, and
What
so
are we talking about? Does he want them to look like this one that's closer to the tennis courts?
he is suggesting stronger wording such as private property, no trespassing. This one says private property, watch for vehicles exiting garages, walk
Okay.
bicycles. And that was. put in-
What's the opinion of the board on this?
What's the concern?
Sorry?
And there's no listing of a concern. There's just he wants signs.
He says, what does he say here?
He says, "I keep the bad boys out, but might let the people in the apartments know that they should not use our property as their dog."
Would the sign be the same size?
That would be up to the board. If you would like me to investigate, I can come back next month with some wording options and sizes and.
But where's the evidence that they're using our property as a dog park? I mean, there's a dog park on University Avenue. Why would they be coming to our?
Personally, I don't like a lot of signage, so
I don't
that's
either.
my opinion.
Yeah, my opinion on this, I use that one entrance where that sign exists when I go back and forth to Sac State. And until I saw that picture, I didn't even know it was there because you just don't look at it. I also use the one further down on University by the overpass to come in after my long bike ride, and I don't think I would see it there either. So I'm not thinking this is such a great idea, frankly.
Yeah, I'm not supportive of this.
If there's no motion, we can just move on.
Any comments from anybody in the audience on this? Okay, I guess we found out we're not going to do this for now. Was there a motion, Betsy?
No, there was no motion.
I don't
Okay,
think.
all right, failed for motion, okay.
Oh,
Okay.
wait, Barbara, there is somebody who asked to speak to it.
Oh, okay. Who is
and
it?
It's Barbara, maybe Barbara Henry. You want to speak up?
It's Barbara Beto.
Oh, Barbara Beto. Hi,
Oh,
Barbara.
hi.
I used to live on this street right across the way from Bill. And lots of times people would ride motorcycles down the street. People ride bikes. Now, Bill does have a dog, so he'd be more aware of dog waste. But I think he does have a valid request. I lived on this street for 3 years, I think it was. Yeah, 3 years. And now I live at the other end at 705. I used to live at 702. 702. I didn't move very far. But I was somewhat annoyed by a lot of people using this street as a cut through. So I think it's a valid request, and I don't think it's something just to be tabled. I'm sorry, Bill is not here.
Yeah, I mean, given that there's a possible thoroughfare from the encampment, and I don't know, but I don't think, does it
Why
have
did the signs
teeth?
stop anything? What are the signs? What do they prevent? All it is, like, I didn't even know that sign existed there either.
Yeah, I didn't either. I mean, it could be yellow or some, different shape or a little more
There's no
daunting.
enforcement. It's just,
Well, right, and signs, I mean, it then becomes another component, you've got to maintain it, replace it when it gets shabby, or I don't know how you go investigating whether it's a worthwhile expense or not.
Yeah, let's do this since Will's got a comment first before we move on. Will?
maybe that's an old.
The California trespassing laws are fairly complex. I mean, there's not a common law trespass in California. And I guarantee you, Sacramento Police Department is not going to respond to trespass complaints. So, you're probably whistling in the wind to put a sign up. And if you don't post the entire property, my guess is that it's probably doesn't have any legal standing anyway. So you might want to take that into consideration or even discuss it with council.
That's a good point.
Let's
Well, I
do
did
this.
know that when Stanford University had to close the campus for an entire day, the entire campus, no access, in order to enforce the private property, no trespassing signs. I doubt we're going to do that here.
Yeah. Betsy, why don't we do this? Why don't you talk to Bill? I'd be glad to talk to him. I think, Barbara, we certainly recognize your concern. I do think there's some reasons not to do this, and let's talk to him and see whether he's got any better ideas. It sounds to me like I think Will is right. This will be a tough one to enforce. Okay, shall we move on from that item then?
Okay.
Okay, landscape improvements at 1235 Vanderbilt. Betsy, can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, this is about the water meter. Oh, and Steve Huffman has actually asked to speak to this as well. He's the grounds chair. But it is an area where we have an above ground water meter. They were unable to put this one below ground, and it is smack dab outside of a front door. And I think this is I don't have, unfortunately, I don't have a picture of what it's like when you're standing here on the sidewalk looking at this house, but it is the biggest meter in Nepenthe, and it's right outside these people's front door. So I don't know if you'd like to speak to Steve on it, but it is
Yeah.
for.
Steve, can you tell us what
Yes,
the proposal is here?
Somehow I got mixed up. I thought we had a 6:30 meeting. That's why I wasn't here earlier. This is among all the water meters, the most, the largest and the one that is the most visibly prominent, and it really dominates that traffic circle at the end of the Vanderbilt cul-de-sac. So, and it's not a big number. So I think my recommendation is you approve it.
I have a motion to proceed
Can I
with
say
this.
something about this, John?
Sure.
So when I was on the grounds committee, and that's when they just started putting those meters and those valves in, and that was with the previous board. And as I recall, we actually, the grounds committee at that time already, tried to work on those meters and on those valves to get them covered up. And then somehow it kind of died. I mean, after the board change. So in my opinion, we should move this to approve, since this was an item kind of left over and forgotten from the previous board.
Okay. Are you making a motion then,
I'm
Marcus?
making a motion to approve this, yes.
May I have a second? May I have a second?
I second.
Any objection from the members?
I mean, I just had those. I don't have an issue with the amount or what we're doing. As we talked about earlier, I just would like to see maybe some different plan options, but it's all right.
Okay.
That's just my feedback. If they could maybe add some color, do something a little more creative with less maintenance possibly, but otherwise, I think something needs to be done.
Okay. Are you an affirmative vote, Ashley?
I think I'm going to abstain.
That means to me, that means a no.
But I will mark it.
Yes or no?
Let me see what other people do. Call out.
Ashley can abstain.
Betsy, call the roll.
Okay, Baker,
Aye.
Gray,
Aye.
okay, Tongeris,
Aye.
Dasher,
Aye.
and Cook.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Approved. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. What's next? Fence proposals.
Oh, boy. Yeah, lots of fence proposals. Okay. All right. So I just want to make sure that the directors understand, we get calls, multiple calls and service requests all week, every week, about, gate issues, fence issues. And so we always start with our handyman. And he goes and makes an inspection. We do have an evaluation form that he uses. This was created actually in part by Will Vizard. It's a rating of the condition of the fence. If the fence is a 3 or a 4, then it is time to for either extensive repairs or replacement. And if more than 50% of the fence needs to be replaced, then we do a full replacement because we have the newer fence style. So these fences have all gone through that process and all are recommended for replacement. We have tried to get equal bids on all of them from these vendors: Critical Path Reconstruction, Elite Service Experts, and James E. Williams, or JWS. And you can see their prices right here. So 600 Elmhurst. We do have a little better price from JWS.
Consistently, JWS is lower.
Yeah,
They're low in every case.
yeah.
I would move to use them.
Yeah, let me just tell you one thing though. 212 Dunbarton, I did ask Elite and JWS to go back out to look at that fence because Critical Path Reconstruction, if you go to their bid, you'll see that they bid both the long front patio fence and the small back bedroom fence. The other two vendors did not. So I didn't hear back from Elite. I did get a text from Billy Williams from James E. Williams today, and he said that the small fence also needs to be done. So this price would not be a final price. There would need to be a change order on that, but I'm sure it would still come in under 11,000.
Well, should we just do the first three then? Because we know what the price is.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Mary.
Yeah,
Let's
I
do
mean,
the first three. And,
We also, oh,
and don't take action on the last one until that gets squared away. Ashley?
is there any way, I mean, I know it's in bad shape, but would the homeowner be willing to just wait a little on Dunbarton, because we are going to be repainting anyway? Is this something we can stage with our paint
So
project?
the 212 Dunbarton, the front patio, the large patio fence is actually in really, really bad shape.
Okay,
Practically
think-
see-through.
Yeah, that one, I mean, is really, including the gate. I noticed that I just happened to sell that house. That's why I know what's going on with that house.
oh,
But,
that one, yeah, that way, I didn't remember it as
So,
being that
yeah.
bad. It's not great, but
But the side, the smaller patio is not as bad, certainly not as bad as the large fence. But on a side note, Betsy, I mean, we've had constant issues with, I think, Elite Service. Their jobs are just, I mean, below acceptance for me. I mean, if we spend money, you know, the appearance is critical, and the way they install fences. I mean, 705 was a complete disaster fixing that gate. The guy was there for like a week for a new gate, and then still couldn't fix it at the end of the day. I mean, I don't even know why we keep giving.
Well, I will tell you that let me tell you, we've told them in no uncertain terms not to give us proposals unless we ask for them. But unfortunately, they, because Elite Service Experts is our handyman service, what they've been doing is doing the evaluations and going right back to their office and preparing proposals. So we told them last week, we don't want them doing that. The only time we want them to provide a proposal going forward is when we specifically ask for one. So, you know, they're fine for a handyman service, but I would agree with you, Marcus. I don't like them for siding either, but they have provided, I think, one or two.
I just feel like the homeowners deserve, you know, the best quality possible that we can give them. And, you know, when you compare them, usually critical path is much superior, just the way they provide the wood, having the wood pre-painted when they install it. I mean, it just looks so much better. So I would suggest to spend a little bit more money, but get much better quality. That's what I think about it.
well, JWS beat everyone this time, so
I think
we don't really
should
have
go
an
with
issue.
JWS and see how it turns out. Their bids are too much lower.
I would also just ask that you consider moving approval for the 212 Dunbarton, even if it is just for the front fence, since that's the one that's really bad. You know, because otherwise it's going to be quite a wait for him. I guess we'd go with, but
Why don't we, yeah, I think you're right, Betsy. And JWS is just for the front fence. I would suggest we move all four of those with JWS and let them do it. And hopefully it'll turn out well.
This way they can order all the materials.
I agree, yeah.
Okay, so that's your
I'm
motion.
fine with it.
Yeah, that would be my motion to approve these with JWS. Is there a second? Okay, any objections? Okay, Betsy approved without objection.
All
Okay,
right.
the siding proposals.
Right, moving on to the siding proposals. Bear with me here, so
So
much.
Are we going to, I'm just gonna ask a question before we move into the numbers. Are we gonna, in this case, it's critical path that's significantly less for
Yes.
all of them. After the presentation from the finance committee, are we just gonna ask critical path whether they can do that Durafirm or whatever it is, the 50-year warranty for the same price or close, since that's what we've heard?
I think could be a good motion. You could move approval to critical path, provided that they use DuraTemp. And if I, give them that information and they come back and say, well, we can't do it at that price or whatever, well, then we can talk
Yeah.
about it again.
I think we should try that. We'll see whether Williams was right that it is no additional cost either for labor or for materials. So I think we ought to approve these. I guess critical path is low, but just tell them we want you to use DuraTemp and let us know if that's a problem.
Does that work? Does that work as a motion, Betsy?
That worked for, that's my motion, yeah.
But if they say no, they can't do it for that price. I mean, can we approve some kind of like little overage, $200 over or something, just so
Not
it
to
can get done?
exceed, right,
Yeah,
That's a good
exactly.
idea.
So I don't want to slow it down
Right.
Yeah, I don't know that.
or get the bad stuff in there again, just because we didn't pay $25 or whatever
I
it
don't-
is.
I think $200 might be whistling in the wind. Why don't we think 500 or 1,000?
I would say 500
Well,
seems.
500, so they still end up lower, I think.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
500.
Yeah,
Let's do that. Okay,
okay, thanks.
A percentage.
good
Okay,
idea.
so I move that we have critical path reconstruction, do the siding with is it called Durafirm?
DuraTemp.
DuraTemp. And Betsy will verify that that it is indeed the same price, and will allow for a $500 increase if needed.
Okay.
But
Any objection?
I'm looking at this huge number, $11,000. Are we talking about the same amount of work on 1329 Vanderbilt?
Yeah, maybe, do you think they misbid it somehow? Like
Well,
that they misunderstood
yeah.
it?
So I have been in communication with Bill Schuman of Critical Path Reconstruction, because the past report indicated quite a bit of dry rot on the back of the unit and on the back garage wall. And so they are going to go back tomorrow. They couldn't get out there before this meeting, unfortunately, and look at it again. So, if it should change drastically, obviously I won't have them move forward with 1329. They have enough work that they can keep busy with the other three for the month. And if it's significantly different, I can bring a change order to the next meeting.
Okay.
All right. Any objections to proceeding as moved? Okay, approved without objection, Betsy.
All right.
Okay, we have come to the second homeowner forum. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak now? Going once? Going twice? I saw a hand go up and then went back down. Peter's
I
having a
saw
glass of
Peter.
wine.
I think Peter's just drinking wine.
Okay. Okay, I think.
Oh,
we have-
Will.
we
Will,
have
did you
con-
want to talk?
No, Will, are you, your hand up?
Yes, there are essentially two products, not one.
Oh,
that-
There's not anymore, Will. I'm
We
sorry.
lose one of them already?
Yeah, the
Supply
second-
issues.
right. The second one that he brought to our attention at the finance committee, he found out afterwards, does not come in a 9-foot sheet, and many of our lower level siding is
Okay.
9 feet. So
So
it's
we've
out.
lost two of the three products. One
Yeah.
won't ship to California and the other one doesn't come in 9-foot sheets.
Right, but luckily the one that is still in the running has the 50-year warranty, which is pretty amazing.
Right, all right. Thank you. Because that's happened within the last week.
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
All right.
Good question, Will. Okay, anyone else have a comment or question? Okay, by my watch, it is 7:07 and we are adjourned. Thank you very
Wow.
much.
Good job.
Good job, John.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Right.
Hi.
Bye.